What's up everybody, I hope you're well. So this new Star Wars show just came out and it's already dividing all the fans. I haven't watched it yet, but I've listened to the theme John Williams wrote for Obi Wan and I think it's great. So I was quite surprised, reading criticisms online. Apparently there's a group of people who really doesn't like it. I'm not one of them and I want to tell you why I think it's great and try to figure out possibly what's dividing the fans. So I transcribed a couple of my favorite moments in the music and I found a few things that I think make it great. First of all, the gorgeous chord voicings, then the sophistication in the harmony, and finally clarity within the parts in the orchestration. So let's start with the voicings. I've picked this moment because the strings are absolutely gorgeous. It's very Williams, with some of the parts being reminiscent of some of the writing you can find in Jurassic Park. They share a lot of the same orchestration devices, with the main difference being, that this sounds very much like Star Wars because of the harmonic language used. So let's take a closer look at the strings. What we have here is some gorgeous open chords we should steal right away, with basses and cellos giving us the foundation, violin 1 on the melody of course, and the rest of the strings basically filling the gaps with the remaining chord tones. This is already very good, but Williams brings it a step further with these woodwind parts that overall add a lot of warmth and lushness to the sound and make the strings sound even bigger and fuller than they already are. As we move higher in register, the chords get denser, as expected, with violin 2 and violas basically splitting up in two to create this nice bed for the melody. And this is just so that the orchestration doesn't get thinner as we play higher notes. The downside is, with this type of orchestration, it's easy to lose clarity. So to make sure that that doesn't happen, we now have woodwinds doubling the melody in unison. Really simple, but gets the job done. My second point was sophistication in the harmony. The music is still reasonably simple, but there are a couple of harmonic tricks that help, making the progression interesting and unique. First of all, we lead with something that is neither major or minor, with A flat coming from the C minor scale and C major, the C major scale, obviously. And this non-committal type of harmonic movement is precisely what makes it sound very much like Star Wars. But here's the part I like the most. Bass and melody are moving in contrary motion, and we get a couple of really gorgeous moments. Let me show you. Once again, just a few simple substitutions are doing the trick. First of all, we have this D minor 7 flat 5, which is a somewhat unusual chord. What most people would probably do is something like this instead, with B flat major that continues the descending bass line. And what follows straight after is this beautiful false cadence, D major into F minor over A flat, then G. So it's basically just postponing the resolution by adding an extra chord, F minor, in between D and G, that otherwise would just be a simple 5-1, with D being a secondary dominant. My third point was clarity within the orchestration, and I'm referring to this particular moment in the music. I think this is really great and it achieves a really big sound with so few elements. First of all, we have an ostinato being played in octaves by all the strings, except for the basses of course, and this makes for a very strong statement. In fact, a part like this is so powerful that it leaves very little space in the orchestration, and adding more to this can quickly turn the arrangement into a mess, but that's not the case here. William keeps it very simple by adding to the arrangement just the bare essentials needed. A melody, the bass, and that's it. The melody has to be able to stand against the ostinato, and that can be tricky because of the register overlaps, so it needs all the help it can use. For that, he's using trumpets and woodwinds and French horns as well when the register allows it. Trumpet is not only used to give a more heroic militaristic kind of vibe to the arrangement, but also to make this melody stand out from the rest, being the strongest instrument in the orchestra. For the bass, we just have, well, the bass and a couple of added brass instruments, I think. It's quite hard to tell though, as the bass is quite light here, but I think it's intentional considering all the rest that is going on. So yeah, that's it. That's how you achieve a very powerful sound with very few elements. Having spent some time with this music, I think there are a couple of things that may make people dislike it. First of all, while I think it still sounds unmistakably Williams, there are some unusual stuff. Small, but unusual. The first thing that caught my ear was the use of homophonic rhythms like this one in the ostinato and the basses, but also earlier in the piece within the strings accompaniment, you know, with pretty much zero contrapunto movement. You know, having transcribed a lot of Williams music in the past, that's just a little strange and not something you would normally expect from him. But that's not necessarily bad, you know, it's just different and makes the music, you know, a little simpler and more focused or cohesive, maybe. The second thing, and I may be very wrong about this, it almost feels like this piece was approached with a more modern sensibility. I mean, using an ostinato alone speaks for itself, and it's not something you would normally associate John Williams with. He's written no shortage of ostinatos in the past, of course, but it's just not what I would consider his go-to device. And it's just a little strange that he would pick an ostinato above everything else he could do instead. Also, and I think this may be just me being overly picky about this, I think this piece feels more modern than things he did in the past. You know, the production feels a little bit more modern. I can swear I'm hearing a sub bass, you know, an octave lower than the double basses, which is just weird. I mean, it's not weird, but it's weird for him. So yeah, I don't know. I really like this, but I think I can see why some people would feel like it's not the usual stuff he normally produces. Let me know what you think, guys. I want to know your opinion, and I seriously hope this video is not gonna be end up taken down. And if you want to support the channel, check out my Patreon page. I've shared a ton of stuff already, including, you know, the scores and the MIDI for this transcription as well. Also, more recently, I released my own online composition course, so feel very free to check that out as well. It's linked in the description. So yeah, that's everything for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new. Thank you very much for watching, and see you on the next one. Bye.